Diddy will be sued. And I say will be because nothing has been filed yet, by at least 120 people in the next 30 days. So
those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business.
The buzz around Shaw Diddy is reaching a fever pitch as rumors circulate that the music mogul could be released from prison soon. It's a twist no one saw coming, and the internet is buzzing with speculation, insider leaks, and theories about what's truly going on behind closed doors. Could Diddy, one of the most influential figures in the entertainment world, really be walking free after months of shocking allegations, lawsuits, and an indictment that rocked his empire? Let's dive into the whispers, the rumored legal loopholes, and the explosive claims that have captured the public's attention.
Push to free Sean Diddy Combs tonight, with his legal team citing new evidence in an updated bail proposal. The music mogul agreeing to around-the-clock security and cutting out contact with basically anyone but his legal team to get out of jail ahead of his trial scheduled for May of next year for charges he allegedly coerced and abused women for years.
Word on the street is that Diddy's legal team may have found a way to weaken the FBI's case against him, or at least enough to secure his release. Insiders say it all comes down to what his lawyers are calling gross misconduct during the investigation, including a controversial raid on his jail cell. But this wasn't just any raid. It allegedly involved federal agents seizing confidential materials that were supposed to be protected under attorney-client privilege. If true, this could be a massive mistake that invalidates key evidence. Diddy's attorneys are arguing that the breach wasn't a minor technicality, but rather a deliberate act aimed at sabotaging his defense. The story goes that on the second day of the raid, high-level federal officials, including prosecutors from the Southern District of New York, held a meeting. During this meeting, it's claimed that these prosecutors specifically directed the search of Diddy's cell at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. His legal team insists that the raid wasn't about maintaining prison safety, as the authorities have claimed, but rather about fishing for information to strengthen the case against him. In their words, this was less about justice and more about stacking the deck in favor of the prosecution. To make matters worse, Diddy's attorneys have accused investigators of eavesdropping on his private conversations with his legal team, further claiming that this kind of surveillance isn't just unethical, it's illegal. If these allegations prove true, it could severely undermine the prosecution's case. Evidence obtained through questionable means could be thrown out, and the integrity of the entire investigation might be called into question. For Diddy, this could be the break he desperately needs as he fights to clear his name.
At the courthouse in Lower Manhattan, the judge ordering the prosecution to turn over its findings from a jail cell raid, Diddy's jail cell, just yesterday. What were the contents of those raids?
Well, apparently, according to the defense, their legal documents, the government's saying no. On the contrary, they're just some handwritten notes and a calendar.
But the drama doesn't end there. Rumors are circulating that Diddy has a plan for when he's released, and it's not what anyone expects. Some sources are speculating that he might try to flee the country if granted bail. It's a wild theory, but given the stakes, it's not entirely out of the question. The whispers of a potential escape have sparked debates online, with fans and critics alike wondering where he might go. Some believe he could retreat to an island or a country with no extradition treaty with the U.S., while others think he might simply disappear into the shadows, using his wealth and connections to live off the radar. Of course, these are just rumors, but the very possibility has added even more intrigue to an already sensational story. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team is reportedly pulling out all the stops to secure his release. They filed a motion claiming that the conditions at the Metropolitan Detention Center are so dire that they violate his rights. The facility, infamous for its overcrowding and understaffing, has been called hell on earth by former inmates and legal experts alike. Diddy's lawyers are highlighting recent incidents of violence and neglect within the prison, including cases where inmates have suffered serious injuries or worse due to inadequate supervision. They're painting a picture of a dangerous, inhumane environment, arguing that keeping Diddy there while he awaits trial isn't just unjust, it's potentially life-threatening.
And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on watch.
At the same time, Diddy's legal team is working hard to reshape the public's perception of the man at the center of this storm. They've been emphasizing his legacy as a music icon, philanthropist, and self-made entrepreneur who spent decades building an empire. In their narrative, Diddy isn't the monster he's been made out to be in court documents and media reports. He's a flawed human being who's been unfairly targeted. It's a calculated move designed to sway public opinion and perhaps soften the impact of the allegations against him. Of course, not everyone is buying it. Critics argue that Diddy's legal troubles are the direct result of his own actions, and that his team's efforts to deflect blame onto the authorities are nothing more than a desperate attempt to avoid accountability. Still, the accusations of misconduct by federal agents have raised eyebrows, even among those who believe Diddy is guilty. After all, if the government is willing to bend the rules to secure a conviction, what does that say about the fairness of the system?
So hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that.
As the debate continues, one thing is clear. This case is far from over. Even if Diddy is released, he still faces a mountain of legal challenges, including multiple lawsuits and an upcoming trial that promises to be one of the most high-profile courtroom battles in recent memory. For now, though, all eyes are on the possibility of his release and the questions it raises about what might come next. Will he walk out of prison only to face an even tougher fight in court? Or will he take matters into his own hands and disappear, leaving the legal system scrambling in his wake? Stay tuned, because this story is only getting more complicated. And if there's one thing we've learned from everything so far, it's that nothing about this case is predictable. Could this be the start of a dramatic comeback for one of music's biggest stars, or the prelude to an even bigger scandal? The truth, as they say, is stranger than fiction, and in Diddy's case, it seems stranger than anyone could have imagined. The controversies surrounding Shaw Diddy are far from over. Even the possibility of his release doesn't change the fact that he's facing what could be the most intense legal battle of his life. The allegations against him are staggering, not only because of their severity, but because they paint a picture of a man whose glamorous public persona allegedly masked years of troubling behavior. But how did it all reach this boiling point, and what exactly is Diddy doing to fight back? Let's break down the lawsuits, accusations, and his defense strategy to understand how the once untouchable mogul is navigating his fall from grace. Diddy's troubles began long before his recent arrest. The first domino fell in November 2023, when singer and model Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former partner of over a decade, filed a lawsuit that sent shockwaves through the industry. Cassie's claims were graphic and heartbreaking, detailing years of physical and emotional mistreatment. She described a toxic relationship in which she allegedly endured relentless harm, coercion, and manipulation. But what made her story even more shocking were her allegations about the so-called pride events Diddy orchestrated, which, according to the lawsuit, were elaborate and disturbing in nature. Cassie claimed she was forced into these situations as part of a pattern of control and intimidation.
In her civil lawsuit, Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, assault, and at the hands of Diddy.
The lawsuit also included jaw-dropping accusations that Diddy deliberately targeted anyone who posed a threat to his control. One of the most talked-about claims was that he destroyed a car belonging to rapper Kid Cudi, allegedly as a warning, after learning that Cudi had shown romantic interest in Cassie. The details of this claim were wild. According to Cassie, Diddy orchestrated the destruction of the car after Cudi refused to back off, sending a clear message to anyone who dared challenge him. While Diddy denied these allegations and maintained his innocence, the case was settled within a day of being filed, leaving many to wonder if there was more to the story than the public would ever know. But Cassie's case was only the beginning. In the weeks that followed, a wave of lawsuits from other women came crashing down on Diddy, one by one. These lawsuits painted a troubling pattern of behavior that allegedly spanned decades. A college student from 1991 accused him of improper conduct, claiming he had recorded their encounter and shared it without her knowledge. Another woman who filed anonymously alleged a similar situation, describing an orchestrated plan that left her feeling powerless. Then there was Liza Gardner, who claimed she was taken advantage of as a teenager in the 1990s. describing incidents that were both violent and terrifying. Even as these lawsuits piled up, Diddy's team dismissed them as baseless attempts to profit from his fame. Still, the public couldn't ignore the sheer number of accusations and how similar many of the stories were. The flood of legal battles only added more weight to the already overwhelming narrative surrounding him.
A woman is accusing Sean Diddy Combs of her when she was 16 years old in 2000.
By December 2023, the allegations against Diddy took an even darker turn. A woman, identified only as Jane Doe, filed claims that she had been manipulated into inappropriate actions while she was underage. She described being given substances and left in such a state that she could barely remember what happened. Her account was harrowing, adding yet another layer of complexity to the growing legal storm surrounding Diddy. Around the same time, more cases emerged, including one from an adult film star who claimed she had been invited to Diddy's lavish parties under false pretenses, only to find herself in situations she had never agreed to. These lawsuits came in rapid succession, and the growing list of accusations began to overshadow Diddy's legacy as a music mogul and entrepreneur. In February 2024, the situation escalated once again. Rodney Jones Jr., a music producer who had worked with Diddy on his latest album, came forward with his own lawsuit. His claims were different from the others, describing unwanted advances and attempts to pressure him into actions he was uncomfortable with. Jones alleged that Diddy had tried to groom him, using his power and influence to push boundaries. Diddy's lawyer dismissed these claims as pure fiction, but Jones insisted that his experiences were real and that he was coming forward to expose the truth. This lawsuit revealed that the accusations weren't just coming from women. They were emerging from people across Diddy's professional and personal life, deepening the sense of a larger pattern of troubling behavior.
Now, to the latest on the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs. This one has so many people talking. The disgraced music mogul facing federal racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking charges. Both the prosecution and defense teams are set to discuss the next phase of action following the indictment as investigators work to determine potential co-conspirators. But how exactly did we get here?
As these lawsuits continued to mount, Diddy's defense team began pushing back hard. In May 2024, they faced yet another blow when CCTV footage from 2016 surfaced, showing an incident involving Diddy and Cassie at a Los Angeles hotel. The video, released by a major news outlet, appeared to show Diddy shoving Cassie to the ground and kicking her while she was down. Though the footage was grainy, it was unmistakable. The public reaction was swift and intense. Diddy responded by issuing a statement saying he was disgusted with himself and that the incident represented a low point in his life. But for many, the damage was already done. The footage seemed to validate some of the allegations Cassie had made in her lawsuit, and it added fuel to the fire of public outrage. By the summer of 2024, Diddy's legal troubles had reached a tipping point. More lawsuits rolled in, including one from Crystal McKenney, a former model and actress, who claimed she had been taken advantage of in a New York City recording studio. Her allegations were graphic and detailed, adding yet another voice to the growing chorus of accusers. Around the same time, a former member of one of Diddy's girl groups, Dawn Richard, filed her own lawsuit. She accused Diddy of inappropriate behavior during her time with Danity Kane, and later with Diddy Dirty Money. Her claims included verbal mistreatment, overwork, and unwanted advances, painting a picture of an artist who felt trapped and powerless under Diddy's control.
But like I said, the entertainment industry is very, very, very messed up when it comes to, the bigger you get, the more you had to do to get there. And so if you're not willing to put yourself in that position, you kind of have to put your foot down. And so I didn't.
What really set the stage for Diddy's current predicament was the grand jury indictment in September 2024. After months of investigations, federal prosecutors laid out their case against the music mogul, charging him with a range of serious crimes. The indictment described a highly organized system in which Diddy allegedly used his power and resources to manipulate, intimidate, and control those around him. The details were shocking, with accusations of coercion, bribery, and even attempts to silence witnesses with cash offers. Diddy was taken into custody shortly after the indictment was announced, and his bail was denied, leaving him to await his trial behind bars. Despite the mountain of allegations, Diddy has maintained his innocence from the start. His lawyer has described him as a family man and philanthropist, someone who has spent decades building an empire and giving back to his community. They argue that the lawsuits and criminal charges are part of a coordinated effort to destroy his reputation and cash in on his wealth. In a bold move, Diddy's legal team recently filed a $50 million defamation lawsuit against one of the witnesses in his case, Courtney Burgess, and her lawyer, Ariel Mitchell. The lawsuit accuses them of fabricating wild claims about alleged recordings involving Diddy and other high-profile figures. His lawyers argue that these falsehoods have not only damaged his reputation, but also poisoned the jury pool, making it nearly impossible for him to receive a fair trial.
So yesterday, Monday, Diddy celebrated his 55th birthday, but this year was a lot different. It was no Diddy parties. It was none of that. None of that stuff. Well, happily so, I guess, right now. But anyway, so this is his first birthday behind bars.
As Diddy's trial nears, the stakes have never been higher. If convicted, he faces the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison. But his legal team is pulling out all the stops, challenging the evidence, scrutinizing the motives of his accusers, and working to reshape the story around the man once hailed as a trailblazer in the music industry. Whether Diddy will be able to clear his name remains to be seen, but one thing is clear. This case has already become one of the most talked about scandals in recent memory. It's a story of power, privilege, and the lengths to which a person will go to protect their legacy. With so many questions still left unanswered, the world will be watching closely as this dramatic saga continues to unfold.
Diddy is now suing. So according to our friends over at Us Magazine, Diddy, who remains in the Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Center while he awaits trial. Us Weekly writes this. It says Sean Diddy Combs has filed a defamation lawsuit against one of his accusers, their attorney, and News Nation.
As the saga of Sean Diddy continues to unfold, the questions surrounding his potential release and the legal battles ahead remain as captivating as ever. Could Diddy's legal team actually dismantle the case against him, or are these just desperate attempts to avoid accountability? And if he is released, will he take the dramatic step of fleeing the country, or will he stay and fight to clear his name? The debate is far from over, and your opinions matter more than ever. Share your thoughts in the comments below. The conversation is just getting started. Until next time, stay tuned for more updates on this ever-evolving story. Goodbye for now.